This is Neal Cooper, and this is the video I made for my senior project. I made an Android game. I want to start off by apologizing for the poor video quality. Recording over the gameplay on my Android device made the game appear to lag. I had to record it on my Android though, because there are features of my app that are Android specific that could not be shown on the desktop version. I created a procedurally generated pathfinding game, kind of like a tower defense game in reverse. You start on the bottom of the screen and try and find the safest path upward to get to the next level. I created this game in Java using the libgdx framework. Libgdx is a good framework because it allows you to multi-platform easy and it's fast. This right here is the menu. I will start by choosing New Game. As you can see, pressing New Game launches an Android activity asking us to choose a username. This name picker activity actually requests data from an API on my company's server to see if the name is unique. If the name is not unique, then it will let you know that you cannot use that name. I will use the name CS4600. See if that's available. And that name is available. And so it allowed us to go through. After that, we are at the selector scene. The selector scene, like my game scene and my menu, all extend the abstract class I created, which is scene. A scene has a render loop and a control object, a camera, a list of selectables. And all of these objects were written by me, well, except for the camera. And these buttons here were written by me as well. Each button is given a unique ID number and passed off to a control object. Any touch that is detected by the scene is passed first to the control object to see if it collides with any buttons or selectables. The control object knows how to test all of these and will report back any data that it decides to report back to the scene. We're going to start by selecting zone 1 and then first mate 1, and we'll click go. This brings us to the game scene of zone 1. The world of zone 1 consists of large open seas. You can see some waves and some towers, some clouds as well. And you start at this bottom X here, and the goal is to get up to the top within 5 waypoints. You can click back if you misplace a waypoint, and menu if you want to start a different game. You want to avoid these towers here, these squares, and select the safest path to this X, while occasionally selecting treasure that you might find along the way. You only get 5, see, more than 5 won't let me press, and then you click go. When your pirates start to generate after you click go, and when your pirates have all either died or reached the end, the game scene triggers the show score event, which displays your current score and the next and store buttons. If you click next, it goes to the next level. The levels of zone 1 start out pretty easy and they get tougher as we go along. And every pirate knows how to detect what current tile it is on. As you saw in the last level, it slowed down when it went over land. And as you can see on this level, going through the fire has them take fire damage. There are the tiles are stored in a map, and the map has a 2-dimensional array of cells, which is the tiles. They have a type, and it can procedurally generate all of these. It picks a seed based on the level you are currently on, plus some randomness, and then expands each seed into an island of the type that you give it. There is 3 items up here, as you can see. You've got gunpowder, which is right there, hearty meals, and special missions. You start out with 6 of them, but that will decrement if you use them. Gunpowder will create small explosions where you press on the map, only if you are going, though, of course. If it hits a tower, that explosion will destroy it. It has a nice little effect there as well. You got some smoke, gunpowder. Meals will make your pirates go really fast. That probably wasn't the best example. They got to the end really quick there. And then the last is special missions, which I will choose a not very good path over here so I can demo that. If you want only one pirate to risk its life and go through dangerous territory, you can select it. It will stop on the map. And you can tell it where to go. It will head directly there. I'll give it a meal too so it can get through that lava. And then it'll head directly home. It's good for getting into dangerous areas or causing distractions for towers, since occasionally towers will check who's closest and then have that as their target. And I've used a few items, so I'm going to show you the shop scene now. The shop scene is a little local store with randomly generated prices. It allows you to replenish your supplies, and if you have enough gold, your crew as well. It is pretty intuitive how it works, so I won't really go into depth. I'll just buy a little more gunpowder and, I don't know, maybe a meal. And if you notice, there's a banner ad on the bottom. I created an AdMob account and registered my game to have ads. The ads are activated through an interface I created, so the core code doesn't have to change, and the desktop version doesn't register ads. All my scenes are tied together, so if I were to go to menu and then just click continue, I would be right back where I left off. Now, I want to point out a few things here that are maybe not so obvious. You notice the wave froth in the clouds, the ember particles when you go through some lava, maybe the smoke when the towers go through, or when the towers go off. Those are all particles of a particle class I generated. Each particle belongs to a particle container and is a subclass of a particle object. Particle containers know how to loop over particles in its update loop efficiently by only contacting ones that are alive. I designed any movable object container to have 2 arrays: the array of movable objects and the update loop, which is just an array of indexes of movable objects that are alive. Any movable object container knows how to test if an object is alive, how to reset each object, and how to test collisions on any other object. Each individual object only has to be created once on the startup of the game. So it is easy on the garbage collector of Java, and it isn't stored in the scene. The scene only has access to the object containers, not the objects themselves. As you can see, the levels start to get a little bit harder here. Since the objects are not stored in the scene, it really reduces clutter in the render loop and makes the code really easy to read. I also implemented saving into the game. Games take up a lot of processing power and memory, and I wanted to not only save your scores when you quit, but also save where you left off, so you could come back and play without having the object or the game in memory. If we were to click and minimize this and execute, you will see how that works. We'll relaunch it. Click continue, and we're right back where we left off. This works by a config object that I created, which stores all the necessary data that it would take to save the game, and then it can just read from that and load that data on startup if it can. If it cannot, then, well, it gives you an empty config and just starts a new level when you click continue. Now I'm going to die on purpose here so I can show you a couple of other features. We'll just have him go through the lava here. That should kill him. The game scene detects if it's appropriate to continue to the next level by checking how many pirates are left. If no more pirates are alive, it will just show you a final score and a game over button. If you click game over, then it launches my leaderboard activity. I designed the layout of the leaderboard, and as I mentioned before, this isn't local content stored on the device. It actually goes through our API and adds scores to the database, if it is appropriate to do so, of course. The API will check your name and update your high score if you're already in the database instead of just submitting a new score. It'll grab the top 10 scores above you and the top 10 scores below you if they exist and display them so you know your neighborhood. As you can see, this isn't all the scores there are, this is just my general neighborhood of scores. If you want to instead, you can click top scores and it'll tell you the top scores. Looks like test insert has the best score. And if you want, you can also select all, which I'll probably remove if the game goes live because all gets all of this data, all of the database's scores, and that can get pretty big. Feedback on previous projects showed that people really wanted to know who they were better at when it came to games, and a public leaderboard I think will satisfy that pretty well. If you hit the back arrow, it'll destroy the leaderboard and bring you back into the game. Now I want to show Zone 2. Oh, that was continue. Sorry. So I'll start a new game here. I'll just go under a guest account and show you how that is. See, it asks if you won't be able to submit your score, so you press back again, and then it's like, okay. And we'll go. Zone 2 is different than Zone 1, and it's a lot harder. Zone 2's generation algorithm starts by filling the entire sea with land. It then adds lava pits and generates a river randomly across the map. The river always connects up, and it'll try and be windy. What I mean by that is that if it starts on one side, if the last seed was on one side of the map, then the next seed will be on the other half of the map. And it'll just update as it goes along. Zone 2 requires a lot more focus on hearty meals compared to gunpowder emissions, because as you can see, they really slow down when they go over land, and with only 5 waypoints, it might be hard to you might be going over non-optimal territory. And I don't really have anything else to demo. I would show the back end like I can if I could, but as I said, this is on my Android device, so I can't really do that. I'm sorry that the video quality was a bit lacking, or if it was blurry or anything. You could always download the game when I release it. It'll be up on Google Play in about a month. You could just search under Shadowtop Studios, which is my company name. If you have any questions, you can email me. And thanks.